Hi guys, my name is Ignixium and I recently bought an RX480 graphics card. And one thing I noticed upon getting everything booted up and installed was that there was no fan RPM. And it's not necessarily I don't know what I just did there. It's not necessarily a problem with it. AMD had purposely did that because they wanted to minimize sound that GPU fans were making, and so they made it to where any idle, if the card was in idle mode, as in there's no load being put on it, then it would have no fan speed at all, and it would sit there idle, of course. And like, let's say you're on Google Chrome and you're watching a stream or you're typing anything, doing something like that, that's not requiring your GPU to boot up and go under load, and so the fan speed's not going to ramp up. Um, so in Overwatch, for example, in Overwatch, the fan speed would of course ramp up. But if you haven't gone into your global Wattman settings to fiddle with anything, your fan speed will probably be at max around 2700 RPM. So it's a little. It wouldn't be 2700. It'd be about 2400 if it was factory. Um, so same with your temperature settings. It wouldn't be maxed out. Um, so your fan speeds would relatively be very low because the minimum acoustic limit is 900. So the fan speed wouldn't be ramping up as far as what you really need it to go. It will always be around 70 degrees Celsius while you're gaming. So that's kind of bad. Even if it's running at max speed, if it's like 60, maybe 59 degrees Celsius, then that's good. It's not that hot, in terms of Celsius, but in terms of Fahrenheit, that's still pretty damn hot. Um, but sitting idle with 0 RPM fan, I learned in MSI Afterburner after I had just installed it that over here on the GPU temperature, when I had first booted this up and I didn't tick off the auto button, it was sitting at 51 degrees Celsius idle with no fan RPM. And after I had ticked off the auto mode and ramped this all the way up to 100% and applied it, I could easily see a decrease in temperature all the way down to where we're at now, which is um, 36 to 38 Celsius. It's not that hot, honestly. It's about 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Um, and one thing AMD got wrong was that this GPU makes a lot of sound. They think that it does. Um, I have two fans going, of course. That's my CPU fan and my GPU fan. My CPU fan is very high pitched, and that is the only fan that I can hear over my headset. And with soundproofed headsets, that's the only thing I hear is my CPU fan. And when I take off my headset, I can then hear my GPU fan, and that's a very quieter, straightforward fan blowing sound. I don't know how to explain that, but it just has a more bass sounding than my CPU fan, which is more high pitched sounding. Um, so the reason why I have MSI Afterburner open and Global Wattman. So the thing with Global Wattman is that you can't change the settings manually yourself. Even though it has the speed RPM manual and the min acoustic limit, you can't change those to make the fans run by itself, I mean. So in Global Wattman, their AMD Radeon settings, you can't change the anything with the fans to make them run. So if you have a 480 card and your fan RPM is sitting at 0, you can't change anything yourself with the AMD settings at all. I've tried to go through it and everything has ended up in a failure, and Literally the only thing I got up on the screen right now is the MSI Afterburner, and that is exactly what changed all the settings to make them work. So AMD is doing something very wrong with their GPU cards and thinking that they need to leave the fans idle at 0 RPM. That's bad. No, shouldn't do that. Cards need to be cooled down, especially since they're the main processing unit for a lot of the games nowadays. As you can see, my GPU usage is flickering up and down. That's because I'm recording on OBS, so it's going to be using my GPU. Um, I'm not recording. I'm sitting around 32 degrees Celsius, maybe, if I can let it go get down that low. But I found the fix for it. If you have a 480 card and your fan is sitting at 0 RPM, don't worry about AMD Radeon settings. Go download MSI Afterburner, and there you go. That is literally the only fix that I have found so far. I have gone to AMD Reddit, I have gone around other forums, Tom's Hardware, all these other places, and they haven't said anything about MSI Afterburner besides AMD Reddit. That is literally the only place that I saw a hard fix for it. They didn't specifically say that that's the fix. They just said set the fan curve, and the fan curve will gradually increase the fan speed, as temperatures rise. No, that's not what happens here. You can set it, up and down as much as you want, but preferably 100%. It's not that loud to me. If you have like three fans, maybe it might get loud, but just depending on how loud your GPU is willing to go, just set it to your preferences. I mean, you can ramp it all the way up like I have it right now. It's not that loud. I don't hear it over my headset and over myself talking right now, so there's no problem there. But this is the fix. Alright, guys, if you liked this video and it did you some good, please hit that like button so I can know that you guys thought it was helpful. That would be very awesome.